Dear students, in this present video, we'll be learning on SUPAC. SUPAC is the short form of scale up and post approval changes. Basically, SUPAC is a guideline given by FDA. In fact, it is not the regulation, and it is used for approval of products. The contents of this video will be including definition, scientific rationale, SUPAC guidelines, which is divided in three aspects: SUPAC IR, SUPAC MR, and SUPAC SS. Level of change, components and composition, manufacturing site changes, batch size changes or scale up changes, manufacturing change, process and equipment, limitations of SUPAC. So this is how we have to submit the new drug application, that is NDA, for the approval of the product to FDA. So after filing NDA, which is based upon the very small scale studies, but from very small scale to the large scale, the scale up is required. But before starting up of the scale up operations, the application can be filed with the FDA, and meanwhile the scale up studies are supposed to be conducted, and during the scale up studies whatever changes are going to be there, so they are required to be informed to the FDA. So the manufacturing need not wait for the scale up study to be over for filing of the application for approval process of the new drug. Similarly, the generic drug product application, what is known as the abbreviated new drug application, ANDA, it is also filed with the FDA before starting up of the scale up studies, and the similar procedure will be there about the submission of the changes in the data during the scale up study to the FDA for the subsequent approval process to be completed. So let us understand exactly what is meant by SUPAC. As I said earlier, SUPAC is not the regulation. In fact, in the process of developing a new drug product, the batch sizes used in the earliest human studies are small. The size of the batches is gradually increased, what is known as the scale up. The scale up process and the changes made after approval in the composition, manufacturing process, manufacturing equipment, and change of the site have become are known as scale up and post approval changes, or it is abbreviated as SUPAC. So the guidelines provided by FDA in the name of SUPAC will help us to carry out the scale up operations for the development of the new drug product. New drug product or new or generic drug product, and the application that has been submitted with the FDA for the approval process, which is just based upon the studies or the data obtained from the small scale studies. But later on, during the scale up studies, it is possible to have number of changes. Say the changes may be in the composition, the changes may be in the manufacturing process, the changes may be in the manufacturing equipment, and the changes also may be in the site where the actual manufacturing is supposed to be carried out. So those changes that will be found during the further studies, so they can be submitted with the FDA when the process of approval is under consideration with the FDA. So what is the scientific rationale about SUPAC? So basically there are 3 points to expedite the process of post-approval changes of the drug products. About the product or during the product development, so it is obvious that many changes will be there, but as the changes are going to be there, the process of approval cannot be stopped, or it cannot wait for it. Otherwise it will be a very long duration for the entire approval procedure. Actually the FDA wants to ensure the safety and effectiveness of the given product which is under consideration of the approval. Initially only the application is required with the little of the data obtained from the small scale studies, but later on, as the scale up is necessary as a part of the manufacturing process, in fact the product approval is supposed to be taken for the large scale manufacturing, but when or at the beginning of the approval process, the large scale manufacturing is yet to be started, and therefore the data from the small scale studies is just sufficient to submit the application. But the study is followed by the scale up studies using the pilot plant, and in the pilot plant when it is necessary to make the changes according to the need, so those changes they must be informed. Now the changes, the gravity of the changes may be different, and this gravity is stated in terms of the levels, the level 1, level 2, level 3. These levels are decided on the basis that to what extent the given modification will affect the efficacy and safety of the product. Moreover, in order to lower the regulatory burden for industry, otherwise if the FDA will wait for everything before granting of the approval, then it will be a very lengthy process, and unnecessarily the regulatory burden will be increased on the industry. So that will definitely increase the cost of the product, ultimate cost of the product, and the FDA doesn't want unnecessary rise of the cost in the product just because of the constraints about the submitting of data. FDA, the role of FDA just to ensure the safety and efficacy of the product and nothing more than that. So this is just the scientific rationale behind the SUPAC guidelines. The FDA has issued various guidelines for SUPAC changes designated as. So the different guidelines, they are divided into 3 categories: A, B and C. Under A category, SUPAC IR, which is meant for the immediate release solid oral dosage forms. Then the category B, which is for the SUPAC MR, means the modified release solid oral dosage forms. And third category, that is the C, SUPAC SS, for non-sterile semi-solid dosage forms including creams, ointments, gels and lotions. So the SUPAC guideline is available for these only dosage forms that are stated in this slide, and not for the remaining dosage forms. So this could be the limitation of the SUPAC guideline. So the SUPAC guidelines, it is based on the different levels of the changes. The changes could be major or minor. Accordingly, the three categories are made: minor changes, moderate changes and the major changes. On that basis, we can define them as level 1, level 2 or level 3. And for the different levels, the tests are supposed to be conducted and the data has to be generated, which is required to be submitted with the FDA for the post-approval process. Even though the FDA has granted the approval just on the basis of the data obtained from the small scale studies, but still the during the post-approval phase, the data regarding the changes in the composition or process or equipment or the site that has to be submitted. But the data is generated by conducting some important necessary test, and according to the level of the changes, the tests are suggested in the guidelines, like application or compendial test. The test based upon the application, and also the compendial test means the test as suggested by the pharmacopoeia. In vitro dissolution or release. This is important, that what the change is of what level. Accordingly, the test or the type of test is suggested as per the guidelines. Even sometimes the in vivo tests are required to be conducted, and the obtained data is supposed to be submitted with the FDA during the post-approval phase of the product. See, the product is still under the development. It is not yet still reached to the large scale manufacturing. But before that, it is required to get the approval of FDA. Even though the approval has been obtained, but during the post-approval phase, before the starting up of the actual manufacturing, during the scale-up studies in the pilot plant, whatever changes are needed to be taken place. So the sponsor of the new drug product or the generic drug product requires to submit or inform FDA about the changes made. But the information is there in terms of the test on data. Then how the filing should be? Well, in what terms the information has to be there to the FDA. So for that, the sponsor of that new product or generic product requires to file the annual report, then also to inform the changes being effected in the form of supplements. Supplement in the sense that previous data that was submitted to the FDA, and in addition to that, the additional supplement data the sponsor has to submit. And then the prior approval supplement. This is the final supplement which is supposed to be submitted to the FDA just to get the approval. As I told you, the levels of changes, likelihood of impact on formulation, quality and performance. Level 1, which indicates that it is unlikely to have detectable impact, that the impact on the final product, it is whether it is detectable or non-detectable or negligible. So the level 1, which will include the changes which will unlikely to have detectable impact on the final quality of the product, the quality attributes that are going to be expressed by the product. So in level 2, where the changes could have the significant impact. So this is very important because whatever changes which have been taken place in the process of manufacturing of the product, so they may have the significant impact on the attributes that are going to be expressed by the final product. Since it is a pharmaceutical product, so the attributes like say the release of the drug, the dissolution of the drug, and the efficacy of the drug, and so on. Level 3, where the changes are likely to have significant impact. See, in the level 2, it means could have significant impact, whereas in the level 3, it is likely to have the significant impact. Just the minor difference between the level 2 and level 3 could have significant impact or likely to have significant impact. But as the level changes, accordingly the number of tests to be conducted and and the quantum of the data to be collected and to be submitted to the FDA, so that will significantly change. So these are the guidelines. These guidelines provide recommendations for post-approval changes in what? Number 1, the components or composition. Number 2, the site of manufacture. Number 3, the scale-up of manufacture. And number 4, the manufacturing process and equipment. So let us start with the components and composition changes. So this section will focus on changes in the excipients in drug product. SUPAC MR, excipient critical or non-critical to the drug release, then changes in non-release controlling excipients and changes in release controlling excipients, and SUPAC SS, changes in preservative. See, the changes in the excipients, there are some excipients which are critical so far as the drug release is concerned, and there are some other non-critical excipients which will have nothing to do with the drug release. For example, the disintegrants or disintegrating agent or any such agent which will affect the release of the drug. And if you are doing any change in the grade of the material or in the type of material, definitely the relevant, it has to be recognized as a relevant level or appropriate level, and as per the level of the change, the necessary test must be conducted. In case of say SUPAC SS, where the changes in preservative is the important concern, because in the semi-solid products, the preservative, if it is changed, some qualities of the product may change, even that is likely to affect also the release of the drug, and therefore it is necessary to recognize it as a specific level, and accordingly the changes are supposed to be reported to the FDA. So this is related to the changes in the composition. Uh, so SUPAC IR means for the immediate release SUPAC guidelines. So here this is the table indicating for the level 1 type of changes. Uh, Classification of the kind of changes, that is the deletion or partial deletion of an ingredient like color, flavor, or change in ingredient of the ink. So the color or flavor, if any change is done, so it is not affecting the release pattern of the drug from its product. That's why it is considered as the level 1. Similarly, changes in the excipients expressed as percent weight by weight of the total formulation less than or equal to 10%. So less than 10% we can consider as the level 1 change, and it is not going to affect the release of the drug. Then the excipient range, for example filler plus minus 5, then disintegrating starch plus minus 3, and other excipients plus minus 1. Since the disintegrating agent has the potential to affect the release, even the filler and some other excipients, so the level of change which can be considered under level 1, for in case of filler it is just minus 5, in case of the disintegrating starch it is plus minus 3. If the change is made beyond this percentage, definitely one has to consider or recognize it as a next level. Binder plus minus 0.5. So binder is the critical excipient, and therefore because it affects the hardness of the tablet, and if a hardness will change, definitely the release is going to be changed. And for the level 1, the change in the binder concentration which can be tolerated is up to just 0.5%. Lubricant, calcium or magnesium stearate, just 0.25% can be tolerated for level 1. Then the test of documentation for such kind of changes, the stability, application and compendial requirements, and all these things they can be submitted as a part of annual report. The annual report during the development process, which is a composite report, and whatever changes that are made in the composition of the product under consideration of the approval, or which may be already approved, so those changes they must be informed as a part of the post approval phase. They can be submitted in the form of the annual report. So in the similar category, that is the changes in the composition, let us see the level 2 type of changes. The classification include the change in the technical grade of excipient. See, this is very important. If the technical grade of the excipient is changed, definitely that has to be considered as level 2 kind of change. Change in the excipient expressed as percent weight by weight of total formulation greater than level 1 changes. Whatever value which has been indicated in the level 1, so beyond that if the change would be there, so that has to be considered as the level 2 change. So the excipient ranges here in this case of the level 2 changes: filler up to can be tolerated up to 10% plus minus, disintegrating starch up to 6% plus minus, and other plus minus 1%. Whereas binder plus minus 1, lubricants such as calcium or magnesium stearate plus minus 0.5, and other plus 2, glidant talc that like talc plus minus 2 and other plus minus 0.2. And the test documentation required for this purpose will include the stability or application compendial requirements. Then the dissolution data, it is necessary because as we have seen, it could affect the release rate of the drug, and that's why the dissolution data has to be collected. Accordingly, the dissolution studies must be carried out and the dissolution data must be collected, and the dissolution profiles we have to submit. So case A, high permeability and high solubility drugs, whereas where the single point dissolution profile is sufficient. Where in case of B, where the low permeability high solubility drugs, the multi-point dissolution profile. And also in case of case C, high permeability and low solubility, again the multi-point dissolution profile must be submitted. Filing documentation, which includes prior approval supplement and annual report. The changes made must be mentioned in the annual report, but the prior approval document supplement, approval supplement, prior approval, the supplement is required to be submitted, which will get attached with the data that was submitted at the time of application. Let us see in the same category of changes of the composition, that is level 3 kind of change, higher than SUPAC IR level 1 and level 2 excipient changes. So whatever limits that have been stated earlier, so beyond that level, beyond that changes, if beyond those values, if the changes are there, so they can be considered under level 3. And for this purpose, the test documentation should be stability or application compendial requirements. Class B dissolution profile, multi-point dissolution profile in the application or compendial medium at 15, 30, 45, 60 and 120 minutes, or until an asymptote is reached for the proposed and currently accepted formulation. So the dissolution study must be carried out, and the values are to be reported at different times up to 120 minutes, but still it can be continued until an plateau or asymptote is reached. So this is very important for the level 3 kind of changes. And filing requirements or documentation will be prior approval supplement and the annual report, as in the case of level 2. So now SUPAC MR means MR can be categorized as non-release controlling, and other MR where the release controlling. MR means the modified release dosage forms. Here the level 1, level 2, level 3 kind of changes. Level 1 will include deletion or partial deletion of an ingredient up to SUPAC IR level 1 excipient changes, whereas the stability and application compendial requirements, and the changes must be submitted to the FDA in the form of annual report. In case of the level 2 changes, the change in technical grade of excipient, as it was seen earlier, up to SUPAC IR level 2 excipient changes, and the documentation, test documentation will be stability or application compendial requirements, multi-point dissolution profiles. This is very important. Up to 120 minutes. USP buffer media at pH 4.5 to 7.5 for extended release. So the dissolution multi-point dissolution studies or profile must be prepared using the USP buffer media at pH 4.5 and pH 7.5 for the extended release. 3 different media, for example, water 0.1 normal SCL and USP buffer media at pH 4.5 and 6.8 for delayed release. So it depends what kind of the modified release dosage form it is, whether it is the extended release one or the delayed release one. Accordingly, we have to conduct the dissolution multi-point dissolution profile in the different buffering solution having the different pH as stated in this table, and the filing document will be prior approval supplement and annual report. And this is the third level, higher than SUPAC level 1 and level 2 excipients changes. Now this is the SUPAC for modified release dosage form, which are release controlling type. Here the level 1 changes less than 5% weight by weight change based on total release controlling excipient contained. So it is important that what kind of the excipient where the change is being made, whether it is a release controlling type excipient or the non-release controlling type excipient. In the previous slide we have seen the changes made in the excipient which is of a release controlling non-release controlling type. Now in this slide we will be taking into consideration such changes in the excipients which are release controlling type. For example, the polymer which is being used in the making of the modified release dosage form, definitely any change made in the grade of the polymer or the quantity of the polymer, definitely that can be considered here, and the gravity of change or the quantum of change which can be recognized as level 1, level 2 and level 3 as per the values indicated here in this table. So if it is less than 5% weight by weight, then it is taken in level 1. If it is more than 5% and less than 10%, then it is level 2, and more beyond 10%, then it is level 3. So in case of the level 1, the test documentation will be stability and application compendial requirements. So here the stability studies are important, must be submitted. As such, in the annual report we need to consider the stability studies in every case. Then for the level 2 changes, level 2 type of changes in the excipients, the taste the taste documentation will include the stability, application compendial requirements, then the multi-point dissolution profiles. Carried out using the different buffers pH 4.5, pH 7.5. So pH 4.5 and pH 7.5 are meant for the extended release, whereas the 3 different media are required like water, 0.1 normal HCl and USP buffer media at pH 4.5 and 6.8 for the delayed release. So for extended release, just 2 buffers, dissolution studies in 2 buffers is sufficient, whereas for the delayed release, the dissolution study in the 3 different media is necessary, and the data must be collected. Prior document of filing will be prior approval supplement or the annual report. Then the third category of SUPAC, that is a SUPAC for semi-solids, and regarding components, changes in the components and composition. So level 1, level 2 and level 3. In case of the level 1, deletion or partial deletion of an ingredient, change in supplier or technical grade of any other excipient up to 5%, change in the approved amount or ingredient, and test documentation will be stability, application compendial requirements, and the filing document will be annual report. Then the level 2, where the changes up to means from 5% to less than 10%, more than 5% to less than 10% change in particle size distribution of the drug substance if the drug is in the suspension. See, if the drug is suspended and if there is a change in the particle size distribution, so that kind of change is taken in the level 2. Moreover, the change in supplier or technical grade of any other excipient. For level 3, the change in approved amount of ingredient. So the document type, taste documentation and filing, it is given in the table, and accordingly the procedures must be carried out. So this is for SUPAC SS components and composition changes, level 1, level 2 and level 3. In level 1, quantitatively 10% or less change in the approved amount of preservative. The change in the preservative is an important concern in case of the semi-solid preparations, and therefore the quantity of the preservative, which can be categorized as level 1 change or level 2 change or level 3 change. Up to 10% it is considered as level 1, whereas from 10 to 20% change in the approved amount of preservative, it is considered as the level 2 kind of change, and more than 20% then it is the level 3 change. So for as per the level, the taste documentation and the filing will be there. Let us see just for level 1 kind of change, where the taste documentation will be application or compendial requirements, then the preservative effectiveness taste at the lowest specified preservative level. So this is very important to find out the preservative effectiveness taste. And the changes made, they must be mentioned in the annual report to be submitted to the FDA during the post-approval phase. Then for the level 2 application or compendial requirements, here the preservative effectiveness test at lowest specified preservative level must be carried out, and similarly the changes must be informed in the form of the supplement, changes being effected supplement and annual report. And similarly for the level 3, the application or compendial requirements executed batch records for new preservative analytical method for identification and assay. Studies, then the preservative effectiveness test at the lowest specified preservative level. The prior approval supplement and annual report, these are the final filing documents. The next kind of change which is considered under SUPAC guideline, that is the manufacturing site change. So let us see how the manufacturing site changes are considered as different level. Changes in the location of the site of manufacturing, packaging operations and or analytical testing laboratory. This is one kind of situation we need to face. Then do not include any scale up changes or changes in the manufacturing, including process or equipment, or changes in the components or composition. And then the current good manufacturing practice inspection. So here regarding the site, what kind of level 1 change would be there related to the site change of the site. So if the site change is within a single facility, that means no change in the SOP, environment conditions or equipment used, common as well as personal. So that's kind of change is considered as the level 1 change, where the site is site change is just within the single facility, and the test documentation will be application or component requirements and the filing document, annual report. Then the level 2 kind of change related to the site change, that is same continuous campus, common personnel, and no other changes. Campus will be the similar one, so it is considered as the level 2, but the test documentation will be different. Then the application compatible requirements, notification of location of new site, this is important to indicate, and the updated batch records. Then for the modified release kind of product, multi-point resolution profile has to be submitted. Similarly, as we have seen the kind of breakup for the extended and delayed release products, and this is the filing document, annual report, and the changes being effected supplement. Whatever changes are made, that sort of means the supplement document has to be separately prepared and to be submitted to the FDA. Annual report is a routine procedure, regular till the manufacturing, even after the manufacturing, during the post-marketing phase also, the annual report is required to be submitted with the FDA as the part of phase 4. So annual report is the routine thing. Level 1 changes mostly they are indicated in the annual report, but some type of level 2 changes as here indicated in case of the site change, so they must be mentioned in the changes change supplement. So it is the additional document which will get attached to the previous application which was submitted before granting approval of the product. So in case of the change of the site, the level 3 kind of change where the different campus or and as well as the different personnel. So the type of means the personnel or also the staff is completely changed, as well as the campus is altogether different. In that case, the test documentation will be somewhat more stringent. Application compatible requirements, notification of location of new site. before making any change in the site, the notification has to be published, and the published notification is supposed to be submitted to FDA as well, or it can be included in the document. So the publishing of the notification is necessary. Then updated batch record has to be prepared. Whatever the previously developed product, whatever data was submitted to the FDA regarding the approval process, for granting of the approval. So that time whatever batch record was prepared, so that has to be completely modified, because such a major change has been taken place, and therefore we have to prepare updated batch record which must be included in the annual report and the prior approval supplement. In case of the SUPAC IR, multi-point resolution profile in the application compatible medium, and for the SUPAC MR, modified release, multi-point resolution profile at the using the different buffers as indicated earlier for the extended release and delayed release. So here the batch size change. Now the batch size change. Here we'll be considering the points like changes in the size of the batch from the pivotal or pilot scale bio batch material to larger production batches. Then the compliance with CGMPs. Third point, no change in SOP, formulation and manufacturing procedures or equipments used. then all scale up changes should be properly validated, and the minimum batch size for the pivotal clinical trial batch or bio batch be at least 1 lakh dosage units per 100 kg or 10% of a production batch, whichever is larger. Here, the important point is what about the change of the batch size. So, the studies carried out on such a batch, the scale of batch is very important here. It is given in this fifth 6 point 1 lakh dosage units per 100 kg or 10% of a production batch. Here, as compared to the production batch, we have to set up a level of trial batch, and that is that can be possible in the pilot plant. So in the pilot plant, such a medium scale or intermediate scale batch can be processed, and accordingly the data we can submit to the FDA. So the data obtained or the batch manufacturing record prepared in such a manner by carrying out the trial batch up to this scale, so the data will be more realistic or can be more related with the actual large scale manufacturing process. So here, regarding the batch size change, the level 1 kind of changes in the batch size up to and including a factor of 10 times the size of the pilot or bio batch. The pilot batch or bio batch, which is the batch batch size where the process is conducted in the pilot plant, and the product is obtained, which is used as the sample for testing, for carrying out the test under the clinical studies and the preclinical studies, and that's why it is called as the pilot batch or bio batch. So the changes in the batch size which are made up to the including a factor of 10 times of the bio batch. The bio batch, which is the first batch maybe which was conducted for getting the samples, I mean the products, to carry out the preclinical and clinical studies. So if the level 1 kind of change in the batch size up to 10 times of the bio batch, so it is a non-significant change, and therefore the test documentation will be mild for this purpose, and the changes, these kind of changes can be informed in the annual report. Updated batch records, application, competitive requirements, and stability studies. Level 2 of level 2 degree changes in the batch size beyond a factor of 10 times the size of the pilot or bio batch. No other changes. So the quantum of change is being changed here, and accordingly the test documentation will be changing. So it is mentioned in the table, and accordingly the document of, or the filing document is to be made. Then the manufacturing changes. So this is also a changes affecting equipment, manufacturing process, and then the appropriate validation studies are conducted. In case of the change of the equipment, level 1, the alternate equipment of same design and principles, or the automated equipment. Updated batch records, application, compendial requirements, stability, and annual report is the filing document. So the change of equipment at the level 2 kind of change to equipment of different design and the principle. Here the change principle is also being changed. so as the equipment is concerned, and therefore the test documentation will be more stringent than the level 1 change. Updated batch records, application compendial requirements, stability studies, and for SUPAC IR, multi-point resolution profiles in the multiple media. For modified release, multi-point resolution profiles in multiple medias, as stated earlier. And the filing will be annual report, changes being effected, supplement. Then the manufacturing process change. Level 1 kind of change will be including the adjustment of equipment operating conditions. For example, operating speeds, mixing times in case of the mixers within the approved application ranges. Application while making the application, the approved ranges, the ranges must have been mentioned. So within that approved range, if any kind of change would be there in the process of manufacturing, then that can be recognized as the level 1 change, and accordingly the test documentation would be just the updated batch record, application compatible requirement, and stability studies, which can be mentioned here in the annual report, which is being submitted routinely. Batch record is a kind of document which is always associated with any process that has been developed. So the entire process is mentioned in the batch record. In case of the manufacturing changes, level 2 type changes will be including the adjustment of equipment operating conditions like operating speeds, mixing times. Then the beyond approved application ranges. It is the beyond approved. In the level 1, the changes were within the approved ranges, whereas in the level 2, the changes are beyond the approved range of the range. For SUPAC SS, change in the process of combining two phases. Then the test documentations will be similar that earlier we discussed, and the filing will be annual report or changes being effected, supplement. Level 3 kind of change in the manufacturing process. For example, the changes in the type of process used. For example, wet granulation to direct compression. So this is a major change. Instead of wet granulation, if the direct compression has been suggested as a part of manufacturing process, so such a major change can be considered as a level 3 kind of change, and therefore the thorough documentation testing documentation is necessary. Updated batch records, then application compatible requirements, stability, bias study or IVIVC. Here the in vivo in vitro correlation is a must. Then the SUPAC for immediate release multi-point resolution profile using the different pH, and also SUPAC MR modified release multi-point resolution profiles in multiple medias. And then filing prior approval supplement annual report. Using similarity factor F2, FDA has placed more emphasis on a dissolution profile comparison in the dissolution profile comparison in the area of post-approval changes. Among several methods investigated for dissolution profile comparison, F2 is the simplest. This is the formula for calculation of F2, where in this equation mainly the RT and TT, which are the cumulative percentage dissolved at each of the selected n times points of the reference and test product respectively. When the two profiles are identical, the F2 is 100%. It is 100. FD has set a public standard of 12 value between 50 to 100 to indicate similarity between two dissolution profiles. So this the value of F2 will give us the tool for comparing the dissolution two or more dissolution profiles. So this is necessary for carrying out the bioequivalence studies and the in vitro in vivo correlation studies. So there are certain limitations for the SUPAC. SUPAC limitations. SUPAC has not been updated. It is the guideline laid down by the FDA in 95-97. Thereafter, there were no, no updates. SUPAC does not discuss multiple changes. Then SUPAC does not cover modified equipment, and SUPAC also must be used in conjunction with the other references, for example the excipient handbook. So these are the limitations. Thank you.